Good morning, everybody. We are here on behalf of Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce with a great start to 2023, starting strategizing to reach your 2023 goals. So here today we have Roslyn Rice from DPI LLC. And Roslyn is a diversity and business consultant, speaker, best-selling author. In a world of complexity, Roslyn is a global mission to change the world one word at a time. Roslyn is a collaborative, client-centric business professional experienced in managing multi-million-dollar accounts. Roslyn embraces storytelling, relevant facts, and humor, and definitely humor, because she makes everything come together to pull in her audience and bravely inspire them. She is co-founder of DPI LLC, a high-impact business consulting firm focused on transforming workplaces into safe and inclusive spaces. She currently serves as president of NAVO. For those that you don't know what it is National Association of Women Business Owners for South Florida, for the South Florida chapter, and business consultant with Miami Navigator Program with FIU, and a member of Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, a dear friend, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of good nuggets from this as well. So with no further ado, Roslyn Rice, take it away. Thank you for being here today as well.
Thank you so much, Patty. And I am so excited to be able to serve the chamber in such an incredible way. I want to first say Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for attending, whether you're listening to the replay or you're here live with us. It is so exciting that you are taking the time to pull yourself up from the day-to-day grind of the business and really talk about strategy. So the question that I always start with, have you ever felt stuck in your business? Based on statistics, you have, because 60% of business owners will sometimes have a cash flow problem, get stuck on a problem. So what is strategy? We're really going to talk about where you have been in your business, where you are now, but more importantly, where are you going? As we are the start of a brand new year, it's important that you aren't doing the same activities and expecting to get a different result. So strategy is important because strategy allows us to minimize risk. It's important to visualize the plan that you have for your business. The other reason strategy is so important, and I know we often talk about goals, but before there can be goals, there has to be a larger strategy. Having a strategy, having a clear direction of where you're going, it also saves you money. You're not going to waste money on activities. Listen, in every business, there is this golden carrot that just hangs, and you think to yourself, should I not? Is this going to be a good investment? If you have a clear strategy on where you are going, it will save you money if you know your long-term goals. It provides focus. I really think about, how do you set priorities as a business owner when everything is a priority? I mean, think about it. How do you set priorities in your business? What are the pillars of your business when everything you feel is a priority in the business? So strategy helps to really provide that clear focus. It also helps you really uncover the unique value perspective, the unique value proposition that you have for your clients. Like, what makes your business different? I can guarantee you, no matter what industry you're in, whether you're a realtor, photographer, insurance agent, if you're in skincare, it is a crowded, saturated industry. And so how do you set yourself apart? You do that through a top line strategy. And then also it creates longevity for your business. So normally, if you think you're seeing double, I do have my business partner on, and she's my identical twin sister. But in our firm, what we really focus on is, like, this will be like a almost 3-4 hour session where we will dive deep with our business owners. So today I'm just able to provide just the top line framework, but definitely stay to the end because there's a little bit of surprise for everyone who is in our live audience. So let's talk about just kind of getting back to the basics. Before there can be any strategy or goal, you got to understand the why of why you are in business. And I know many times we just kind of go throughout our grind, the day to day, but you really have to just pause take a breath, and think about, why am I doing this? Why am I expending all of this money, time, resources, energy? So think about your vision. Your vision really is about, where are you wanting to go, that long-term destination. Imagine that you're taking a trip. Next week, I'll be going to Long Beach for a conference. That's my end destination. What's in front of you? That is the vision that you have. The mission is the how and why that you're going to achieve that vision. How are you going to get there, right? There's many different ways that I can get to Long Beach. I can drive. That's obviously a silly plan, or I can fly. There's many different ways to get to one final destination. The mission is really your unique perspective on the how and the why that you're going to get there. The third is core values. These are the guiding principles that are within your organization. So it filtrates through to who you're working with, meaning who your suppliers are, your vendors are, internally with your team, but then also as you're dealing with your clients. So let's say I'm in the mitigation and restoration business, and one of my values is timeliness. If I'm subcontracting out and that subcontractor is never on time, I might need to think twice about furthering that contract with that subcontractor, because I value being on time. So core values are your guiding principles. Remember, we're getting back to the basics in regards to our strategy. The other thing is, what is the core focus of your business? You can spend your time, efforts, and money on so many different activities, so many different investments. There's a new curriculum, there's a new system, a new equipment. But you got to get back to, before you set any strategy in place, what is the core focus? What is the pain point that is in the marketplace? And how are you solving that problem? What I find with a lot of business owners, when we think about, why am I not making my goals? It's simply because I am just focused on what I am doing. Every person who is buying in 2023 almost doesn't need one more thing. What they need is a solution to a problem. So if I'm a new pet owner and I'm looking for a groomer, I have a pain point of, like, how do I get this new puppy trained to its crate? That's my problem. So what business out there is going to solve that for me? It's not about, oh, I'm just a pet groomer. What is the impact that you're having in the marketplace? So I want you to kind of think about, when someone works with you, what is the transformation that they can receive? Many times we're just stuck on, this is what I do. I'm an esthetician. I'm a realtor. Nobody cares. How are you solving my problem of anti-aging, or being able to find a house in my budget, right? How are you solving that problem? So get back to the core focus of your business. So as I set this framework in place, what comes first? The first thing we want to think about is reflecting. Anytime I meet with business owners, and as a consultant with the Small Business Development Center with FIU, I meet with so many different consultants. I had a session this morning, and the first thing that the client said to me is, Roslyn, I know you're going to ask, what was my win for the week? Because if a business owner is only focused on what's not done, that will take you into a negative mindset. So there has to come a time where you reflect on what has worked well in my business, and then also, where are the opportunities in my business. So a part of the different metrics I use when it's time to reflect on the business, and again, this is step one, the reflection part. Think about your annual revenue. I was meeting with a client last night, and she printed out her she's she made me laugh, because she literally came with paper, and I'm like, you could have emailed that to me. But she printed out all of her kind of services and products that she had sold for the year. So what's been the annual revenue? Maybe that's something that you want to reflect on. Maybe it's your customer list. It is like, are you having repeat customers? Are you losing customers? Maybe you want to reflect on how much you are selling to each of your clients, or what are your most profitable products and services, because you're realizing that, man, I need to go in a different direction because it's not profitable for me anymore. You can also reflect on, I'm just kind of giving some ideas on what your position is in the market. Are you an expert leader? Are you someone that focuses on value and you kind of hit that affordability clientele? Or you focus on speed to market? You can reflect on your employees and your subcontractors. Are you still feeling like you're in a good place with that? Think about your strategic partners, your sales processes. How do you move people through your sales funnel? What about your profit margins? We're going to talk about that a little bit more. You can even look at, I know someone talked about, am I maximizing my referrals? Do I have a system in place that when I meet someone refers business to me, that I'm nurturing that relationship? Am I following up with them? And then also customer satisfaction. Many of us are in industries where we have to focus on, am I getting those reviews? So there's many, this is not a complete list of ways for you to reflect on your business. But then also, that's internal. Think about external. What are some of the headwinds that you have in your business from an external perspective that might be a threat to your business? For instance, I have a client that has a CBD, and that client's business is really getting ready to be extremely regulated. And so it's always a threat because what Congress will pass will have an immediate impact on his business. So think about from a legal compliance, especially if you're in the financial industry, all of those regulations, what's happening has an impact on your business. You need to reflect on that. Are there political policies? If you're doing international imports, exports, are there tariffs? Are there currency concerns and shifts? Are there technological advances that are happening that I need to be ahead of? So all of this can be an impact on your business. So there's many different ways for you to reflect. Remember, we're on a journey, right? We're going somewhere. So I want to show you just an example of some of the ways that I reflect on my business. So this is like, I obviously have my consulting business, but I also am a best-selling author. And I can't remember if the time frame here that I pulled these numbers was a month or 2 months. I can't even remember, but I wanted to find a way for me to understand what lead generation. I had done a lot of like planting seeds, right? We're kind of throwing stuff out there, trying to figure out what sticks, but you need to have a measure of performance to understand what that is. So I sell books and t-shirts and flashcards and journals. If you're on here and you're selling products, maybe that's an extension of your business. Again, I see Carol on and you're an esthetician. So there's products that you're selling as well as the services that you're providing. This is a way to look at it. Look at the units sold and then determine what piece of the pie is each of those categories. So as you can see, no matter what I kind of put out there, it always came back to my book as being the #1 seller. Okay. But then when I look at it from a revenue perspective, so you can look at it in units, you can look at it in dollars sold, you can see those numbers equal out a little bit more based on the price of the item. But books is still my #1. So no matter what I throw out in the marketplace from a product perspective, you can see it by looking at this evidence. That's why you track and you reflect. And I'm not flying blind as what's working in my business. I can clearly see here that books are my #1 seller in regards to the products that I sell. But on top of that, I'm also a speaker. So if you provide a service, you might feel like, how do I provide a measure to really understand how am I performing? Well, these are the different topics that I taught on, that I spoke about last year. So you can see I put like how many gigs I had for each one, and then how many new clients. That's a part of my sales funnel, is doing speaking engagements. But from that, how many new clients was I actually able to receive? And then what was the topic that really sparked curiosity? So you can see here in regards to my #1 was reimagine diversity. That was a topic where I said, aren't you tired of talking about race? Hands down, that was my number one. And the new topic that I had, lead with empathy, I didn't get a lot of hits there. So instead of me just saying in my business, I'm going to constantly talk about lead with empathy. It's like, why would I do that when the evidence shows that was my least effective message? All right. But then when I look at where did I gain new clients? Wow, that measurement shows me belonging matters was not my kind of curious topic, but it got me the most clients. So you decide for your business. Again, step one is about this reflection. What is most important to you? All right. As we move further, talking about reflecting, I want you to think about when you are in a business and there's so many different priorities, and you're trying to decide what matters the most. One of the different ways that we reflect is also in regards to profit. So I have this image here, and it helps me so much. So when we receive in our revenue, we're getting cash from our clients, we've closed that contract, we've done that ACH transfer, or maybe we've had a swipe with our Square, and we are so excited, right? That big bag of money is that top line sales, your gross revenue, sales, income, whatever it is that you want to call it. That's the happy place for us as business owners. But as you can see, there's different bags and different expenses and different profit, if you will, that you can measure in your business. And I wanted to show this as another one of my own personal measurements of success. So your gross profit is most often analyzed. You will also hear it as gross margin, because this is what is left over after paying for your goods and services. So you think about the raw materials, you think about the person that is a baker and the ingredients that they're having to buy. What's left over after they, collect that money from their customers is their gross profit. And it's important that you understand in regards to profit that you don't just have to grow top line sales. You can grow the profit in your business by cutting expenses. Sometimes we just focus on, oh my gosh, I got to have a 5 or 6% increase in my business. No, you don't. Maybe you need to just cut your expenses, source other subcontractors, source other ingredients that might give you the same taste and deliver the same, taste for your customers, but allow you to bring more margin or more profit into your business. So the next bag, and you see we're jumping down, it's getting a little bit lower, is our operating profit. So what is that? Your operating profit shows what is left after you consider the operating cost of your business. So this is where you're going to factor in your subscriptions, your, paying to go to your chamber activities, your rent, your electricity, your phones, and in some cases, your staff. Okay, so that's going to be your operating expenses. And as you can see, gosh, our bag is getting a little bit smaller. And then the last, which is net profit, you'll hear it referred to as net income, that is going to show you after you've paid your taxes, the cost to your business, this is what you get to hold on to, right? This is the bottom line. So this is another factor in my business that I wanted to, in this step one, show you how I reflect on my business, my sister and I. This profit is important to look at, because you can have $1 million business, but if you're spending $1 million in expenses, you're bringing in zero profit. On the flip side of that, you can have $100,000 business, and if you have only spent 50,000, you're bringing in $50,000 of profit. So which one is more profitable? The $100,000 business. Profit is so important to measure. And again, if you have any questions with that, I am accessible. Our firm here is to kind of help walk you through this. So I recently had my son start driving. And I remember when he started driving, he gets into the car for the first time. And my goodness, he is looking at the dashboard. And when you think about the dashboard of a car, there's so many different gauges and to tell you where you're going. You have your odometer to tell you your speed. You have your gas to kind of tell you what level of gas you're at. You have your battery that lets you know where your battery is. Many of us as business owners, like when my son first started driving, he was distracted by the dashboard. Many of us as business owners are distracted by the dashboard of the day, which could be what's the cash balance in my account, or what sales did I have today, or how many irons do I have in the fire. It is important to take time out as a business owner to lift yourself up and look out the windshield. Two different approaches to driving your business will lend two very different results, as it did for my son once he kind of lifted and looked out the windshield. Imagine if you're trying to drive your car only looking at the dashboard. But that's what we do day in and day out. We look at our appointment books. Do I have enough people scheduled? You got to pull yourself up and be able to look out of the windshield of your car. Okay. So the way that you do that is, how do I go forward? How do I think about Long Beach or my final destination? It's my 5-year outlook. So if you have a piece of paper, before you start thinking about your 5-year outlook, I want you to think about the age of everyone in your house, including you. How old will the people in your house, even if it's your puppy, it's your pets, it's your parents, it's your spouse, your partner, how old will each person in your house be in 5 years? That is 2028. The reason why I do this with our clients is because there could be something that's going to be happening in the next 5 years. We're not detached from our families, from our parents. And we need to have a realistic understanding before we start thinking about strategies and goals. Is there something that's going to be pulling my attention? Maybe in 2023, I just got married. And you know what? In 5 years, I'm going to be starting a family. That might pull time away from my business. Or maybe in 5 years, I'm going to start the process of, looking to sell my business. And so I'm going to scale myself back from my business. As you look forward 5 years, how old are you going to be? So as you write down those numbers, your kids, you might have them in kindergarten now, but you think, oh my goodness, they'll be heading to middle school. That's going to be a whole different time. I won't have to pick them up at this time or drop them off at this time. So just think about that. Always do that before you start thinking about the higher strategy. But I want you to think about, what do I want to achieve in 5 years? Now, again, I'm only giving you a framework, and this is really part 2. When you start thinking about your 5-year outlook, everything and what you want to achieve needs to tie back to your vision, your mission, and your focus. Okay. So you're just not going to pop stuff out of the sky. It also needs to be a springboard from where you did your reflection. So the things that you have on your list really needs to be reflective of what has happened in the business in the past, what are the threats to the organization, and what is the vision, mission, and core focus of my business. So think about it in kind of these 4 different buckets. I want you to think about, most of the times when we're thinking about strategy, who doesn't say, hey, this is the financial goal that I want to have, whether it's a certain level of income, maybe it's a certain amount of units that I want to sell. I remember this gentleman, when I was writing my first book, was like, I want to sell, 10,000 books in this time period. So maybe it's how many units you want to sell. Maybe it's an insurance premium goal, how many services you want to sell. Maybe it's a profit goal. I hope I'm getting you to think differently today about profit. You don't just have to grow your top line number. Maybe you just want to focus on reducing expenses. We have one of our clients that was a focus for her business, and she brought down her expenses 50%. She went totally remote. It was kind of the best thing since sliced bread for her business. And even though her top line sales did not increase, she was able to bring more profit into the business. Okay. So think about financial results. Then the next thing is to think about maybe customer and market growth. So maybe right now you are business to consumer, but you want to expand that and you want to sell business to business. I have a coach that's one of our clients, and right now she's coaching one-to-one. She just got her certification and now her master certification for organizational coaching. And now she's focusing this year on building a base of corporate clients. Maybe you want to move into a government contract. That's what I did last year. That's why I'm with FIU. And let me tell you, that's one of the ways to recession-proof your business is to move into government contracts. So that's one of the ways that you can start building, what do I want to achieve in 5 years? It could be financial, it could be, growing your market or your customer base in a different way. Also think about operations of your business. Are there new systems and software that I want to set as what I want to achieve? Maybe from a productivity standpoint, maybe I want to adopt a new project management system or a new CRM so that I have better follow-up to be able to maximize those referrals. Maybe it's a new payment processing system that I need to optimize the digital space and be able to take payments online. The last bucket is think about people. Maybe you want to expand your team. I know I want to. Maybe it's an office assistant or a virtual assistant. Think about your suppliers, your vendors, your subcontractors. But then also think about your internal team if you already have one. Okay, so those are the 4 buckets you think about. That's kind of the step 2 of this framework. And then the third part, and I'm doing a purposeful pause because I know that you're already starting to think about what you want to achieve. I know that you're writing it down. I know that you're starting to understand how this is going to start to develop. When you start writing things on the list, I want you to answer the question, why do I want to achieve this in 5 years? Why is it important to you? One of the goals that I have for 5 years or strategies is to have a second book. For me, as a consultant, having a book became one of my #1 marketing tools. But what is it for you? Why is it important? Okay. So obviously, anytime we go anywhere, there's always, in regards to a road trip, there's these mile markers. My mom lives in Orlando, and every time I go to Orlando, I have these mile markers in my mind where I know, like when I see that Dunkin' Donuts, I know I'm about an hour and a half away from my mom's house, right? So when you think about 5 years, think about what age will you be in 3 years, and let's think about what is on the horizon for 3 years. That's going to be 2026. How old will you be? How old will the people in your house be? Now, as you start to think about that 3-year mark, this isn't necessarily the halfway mark, but there is going to be something that you need to do to be on track to make that 5-year commitment to yourself. There's something that is a milestone marker that says to you, oh my goodness, I am on track. Now, remember, not necessarily the halfway point. Businesses gain traction, but for some of us, it might be, that we want to have and grow our staff. And so in 3 years, I would have already hired maybe 2 people and have an HR process in place, have an employee handbook, have an onboarding process. And that is clear evidence that I'm going to achieve my 5-year goal of adding 5 staff members. So think about, what does that look like? Maybe it is the type of product mix that you have. Maybe you want to focus, or your service mix. Maybe you want to move from just one-on-one coaching or consulting or just tax preparation if you're an accountant to, man, now I want to focus on actually having strategy sessions with my clients, not just having them at the first part of the year to talk about their taxes. If I'm a realtor, I see Michelle, and she's a real, if you're in the real estate business, maybe you want to move from just personal and homeowners into commercial properties. And that's a big leap, but you're like, that's where I want to be. What will be the 3-year evidence to let you know that you are on track? What will you need from a technology perspective, from a staff perspective, from an equipment perspective? So think about that. And then we start moving towards where will I be in 1 year? And ding, 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 this is where we actually start setting goals. But there can be no goals before there is a larger strategy. And I think that's where many of us as business owners, we will fail, unfortunately, in like achieving our goals because we just start with goals. No, goals are kind of that action plan, those tasks, those tactics that we're going to do to implement our strategy. So everything that we set as a goal, like where do I want to be by the end of 2023? You're going to write that down. That is step number 4. Where do I want to be at the end of 2023? And this is where you start getting into the gritty tactics of the year. So normally there are 3 type of goals that we set. We'll set a project goal. I reference like writing a second book that will have a start date and an end date. That's different than an activity goal, something that we measure. Think about your sales goals. It's something that you measure every month. How many referrals actually ended in closed business? That will be an activity type of goal. And then we have habits, right? If you've read Atomic Habits by James Clear, you know that he says in that book, we do not rise to the level of our goals. I can make my mouth say anything. I can say, oh, I'm going to grow my business by 23%. We don't rise to the level of that goal. We fall to the level of our systems. So what system do you have in place for that habit goal? Maybe it's to drink more water. Maybe it is to follow up on your referral. And maybe you need to build get a CRM systems that helps you do that. What are the systems, the habits that you're putting in place? You want to carve out more time to develop curriculum for your clients. How are you mapping that on your calendar? So these are the different type of goals that we have. And of course, we know that goals need to be smart. A generic goal is I'm going to grow sales in 2023, right? As James Clear says in Atomic Habits, we're not going to rise to the level of our goals. We're going to fall to the level of our systems. If I say I want to lose weight in 2023, but I don't have a system in place to track it, I'm not tracking my starting weight. I'm not tracking my food and my calories. I'm not tracking my exercise. Am I going to really be able to achieve that goal? Most likely not. Right? So how do we make it specific, measurable, attainable, relevant to the business? It ties back to the vision and mission and core focus of our business. And then obviously a time-based. So another way to say, I want to grow is by the end of 3rd quarter, there's a time there. I want to grow revenue because we know where our starting revenue was by 23% by offering, I have a new service, digital marketing service package to existing one-to-one consulting clients. So you want to make sure that your goals are specific, measurable. There has to be a way for you to be able to show yourself that there is evidence that you are moving along. So I know this says thank you and congrats. I still have more, but the reason why I say that is because what we really focus on, each of these parts, I could have spent an hour on because, you would have come with your numbers and we would have dived deep to understand where there's white space opportunities, what you should focus on, how you can project for 2023. We would have set an action plan in place for each of the different quarters, what you focus on in 1st quarter, 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter. But obviously, for the sake of time, I still want the opportunity to say to you, congratulations on even thinking in this way of how to set priorities when everything is a priority. And that's what we do in our business, is really helping business owners convert that vision, that all those different, like I'm a squirrel and I'm running over here and I'm running over there and I'm running over here. How do you turn that into strategy? How do you turn that vision into strategy? And then how do you turn it into a tactical plan? That's the sweet spot of kind of, what we do. What I will say is I kind of pull this all together for you, is that you need to create a dashboard. I want you to think about 3 to 5 different metrics that you're really going to focus on tracking this year. Maybe it is your top line sales. Maybe it's your operating expenses. You know it is out of control, but you don't even know where your money is going. You got monthly subscriptions and your accountant is saying, hey, you need to shut this off. You're not even using that. Figure out, maybe that's this year, you're going to hone in on focusing on your expenses. Think about 3 to 5 different things that you're really going to create a dashboard for, because you do need that dashboard that you're looking at every week, every month, every quarter. But it's important to build in accountability. Like, once you build a strategy, it is not a one and done. If you don't build in a system of accountability, it is going to be that much harder. 80% of business owners need to have an accountability partner. That's the majority of us. You have to be able to make that investment to see how you're tracking towards that progress. Along the way, I want you to celebrate, large and small, whatever it is that you accomplish. You taking this time out of your day, that is a win to me, because you understand how important it is to build objectives and strategies for your business. So every single week, think to yourself, what is my win for the week? I ask it to every single one of my clients. And then just know that I am here to support you. So what I have done, this was the big surprise, is next Wednesday, it gives you about a week, because listen, setting strategy takes a long time. I've opened up my calendar, 20-minute slots. I only have about 4 slots. But if you send me an email at info@dpi2.com, I will open up my calendar for you, because I am passionate about this. If there's anything like I feel like I could do without getting paid for, it is helping clients build strategy. I spent 25 years in retail at a corporate level, building strategies for some of the top brands in the world, actually. Day in, day out, this is what I ate, slept, and had to defend. So I have these slots, again, only about 4 of them, 20-minute slots. Let's talk about some of the epiphanies that you've had, where you might want to go deeper. If you put in just the subject line, and our team will be able to assist you, chamber webinar, it'll alert my team that you're wanting to book an appointment for next Wednesday, on February 1st. And with that, Angie, I we can open it up in these last kind of 15 minutes for any questions, or just share out.
Roslyn,
Yeah.
I do want to say this because I know there was a lot of information that was shared. But while we're all on here, one of the things that you talked about that was so important is for us to look at what our wins are. So if you could just put in the chat,
Yes.
what was a win from just last week? What was a win for you? Something that went well, maybe it was a client meeting. And I know some of us have gone off video, but if you could just put in the chat, what was a win for you last week?
That's an awesome idea. And Roslyn, thank you so much for this. A lot of great ideas and a lot of great places to start from. If anyone has any specific questions, they can feel free to unmute and ask. If not, I've got a couple that we can always use, but I'll get us started if that's the case. Rosin, when you see that your clients are planning their goals and kind of looking at the dashboard, looking at the windshield, which amazing analogy. I love that. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see that they make when they're trying to really focus in on their strategy, let's say for the next year?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really is focusing only on one lever of the business, which is most times just sales. Obviously, that's a lever that you need to pull, right? You need to pull the lever of sales. But I think also in that equation is your expenses. I find many business owners, turning a blind eye to their expenses, and I'm loving seeing all of these wins, a meeting with a new client, getting the job. Congratulations, Angela. That's fantastic. The best summer of Miramar. Love that. But there's many different levers that you can move in a business to move your business forward. And many times we just kind of put the blind spots on to expenses and don't focus on that. Oh, best summer camp. Very nice. Awesome.
Awesome. Does anyone have any specific questions?
Brian said, I was able to work through resolving a disagreement with a buyer and seller on a business under contract. Whoa, pause. Awesome. Will now hopefully lead to a closed deal next week. Awesome, awesome, blossom. I love that. Yeah, start thinking about it. Maybe you just start, organizing your space. That's a win. It doesn't
And I
have to.
think the reason why this is so important from a win perspective is because we beat ourselves up as business owners. I mean, if I probably asked you how many of you, just kind of beat yourself up, oh, I didn't get this deal or I didn't do this. And we never really reflect on, because it's kind of counterculture to reflect on, well, what went well?
Yes.
And that can a lot of times be the building blocks of you putting a strategy together. Is just reflecting on what went well and how can I replicate that? How can I maybe put that into a process? And so it's so important to really think about what went well. So I'm glad we're allotting this space for individuals to write what went well.
Angie, my win this week was completing a big client project. Whoop, whoop.
And getting paid.
Yes.
That is the
Whoop, whoop.
key.
And freeing up space on my plate to focus on the next project. Love that. Maybe you've set boundaries with your clients, and maybe that's a win.
What is that? I don't. That's
You
a
know,
whole nother topic.
Yeah, no, let's talk about that. So one of the reasons why we sometimes will not achieve a goal is because we're not teaching people how to do business with us. When we set boundaries in our business, I was listening to one of Renee's team members answer her phone, and the team member said, Renee is out of the office, but she will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. It clearly set an expectation that Renee wasn't going to be able to just on a dime be able to turn around and answer that client's question. So set boundaries. That's why you have policies. What is your return policy? If you have if you're selling a product, you have policies because it's teaching people how to do business with you. It's setting boundaries are a warm hug.
I like that.
Okay, they're a
That's
warm hug.
excellent and very true. And I do try to do that in the sense of like if I am taking on a new big project, I'll make sure I tell somebody, listen, I'm not getting started on that till February 1st.
Exactly.
So,
Set
wait on that. So I liked that, like that's kind of what happened here where I was able to finish a project. Now I kind of got some wiggle room where I can relax. I know I don't have that next one starting up till next week. So it allows me kind of to focus. But I loved, Renee, when you started everything off by talking about what you were focusing on, like what your win for this week was. I was like, you know what? I made myself a note. I need to start thinking every week, what was my win for last week to kind of keep you in the great headspace to look into the next week. So
Yeah.
And congratulations, Vincent, because you said we are meeting with a prospect today and hitting the goal of having 5 consultations a month. So Vincent, that's awesome because it sounds like you're tracking what your how many consultations you have in a month. So congratulations.
Yeah.
And
then Brian, I see you, but I want to shout out Carol. Finding out my additional line is doing better than I thought while doing tax prep. Now, Carol, thank you for saying that. we're all in the midst of preparing our taxes, right? But what if you had seen that in 2022 when you could have maximized that white space opportunity and had a stronger marketing campaign for that additional line? So that's why it's important to kind of find 5 things that you want to track. But Brian, yes.
Yeah, I was on, had my screen off the entire time, but that's really important what you were saying about setting boundaries with the clients.
Yes.
And people always worry that we're going to lose the client if we don't answer the phone right away when they're calling. So I do that, and I make the client know that I'm responsive and I'll get back to them, but they can't think they can call me whenever they want, and I'm just going to stop what I'm doing to help them. And otherwise it becomes unbearable sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you for saying that. Boundaries are warm hugs.
exactly. Very important.
Yeah.
I hope that there will be 4 or 5 of you that will take advantage of Roslyn's offer. Even though we are twins, we co-founded DPI. We do not think the same. I am not the strategy person. I actually utilize her services to help me in my other business that I have. And so for her to be offering that complimentary, I hope you take advantage of it. Let me tell you, it's been a game changer for me. If you take nothing from this course, if you identify the problem that you're solving, and if you focus and reflect on what your wins are and what you want to track for this year, come prepared next week to share that with Roslyn, because everything will fall into place once you identify those 3 things. Because I know there was a lot that was thrown at you today, but if you can do that, I promise you, it will get your business to a better place. My business, my other business, is doing leaps and bounds what it was doing before I held myself accountable to meeting with Roslyn, which I don't always want to make space for. I'm just going to be honest. Even though she's my twin, I don't always want to make space for it, but it has helped me tremendously from a standpoint of my business, because it keeps me on track and making sure that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, even as small as, Renee, did you post that video I told you to post regarding your business? And little stuff like that helps so much. So that's just my thought.
And I saw you say, Lydia, so part 1 is the reflection part, vision, mission, core values. What actually happened in the business last year, looking at your numbers, like Carol was able to say, hey, I had a line that performed incredibly well. And then figure out the core metrics that you want to track. Okay. And then you do your 5-year outlook. Did anybody get scared when I said how old you will be in 5 years?
Yeah, that was offensive. Thank you.
Yeah. And then you do, and the 5-year outlook is, what do you want to achieve? Then you do your 3-year milestones. What will let you know that you're on track to achieve your 5-year goals, your 5-year strategy? And then your 1 year. What do you want to accomplish by the end of 2023? And that's where you start setting quarterly action plans. That's where the true goal setting come in, is that 1 year.
That's amazing. And I really love the perspective of thinking at the 5-year mark. Let's start there. Where do we want to be in 5 years? And let's work backwards. How do we get
it's like reverse engineering our,
Because if you set some 5-year goals and then just start moving forward, how do you know you're getting there? How do you know you're on track? I mean, what are you going to do? Wait until you get to the 5 years and then be like, well, I missed the mark on that one.
Or if
those
it doesn't,
milestones are great.
If it isn't reflective of what you've done in the past. So if you're 2023 or 2022 total sales were, and I'm just using a number, 200,000, and you're saying by the end of this year I want to be at 1 million. I mean, come on, that is just not a realistic. But I hear business on, that's just not realistic. So there has to be reflection to be able to springboard into what will the next 5 years look like.
Right. That's amazing. Does anyone else have any other questions while we're Got a few more minutes. Awesome. Well,
Here's my email
they've
again.
put their information in the chat. Roslyn, thank you again so much for taking the time to be with us today. As we mentioned, we will be putting this up on YouTube so that our other chamber members can benefit from your wise information.
Thank you.
And we will share that link with you all in probably about a day or two. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. If anyone has any questions or has any ideas or topics for any other chamber university classes, please reach out to us and let us know so we can get that out to you. Okay. Thank you, everybody.